On Monday, the 29th of June 2026, a law that has stood for almost 200 years was repealed in the UK by the British government. It no longer stands. So before the 29th of June, it was unlawful and even at times a criminal offence for somebody to sleep outside in a public space or public area such as this woodland. It can be open access, it could be a town centre, it could be this woodland. It was unlawful, and I say again, sometimes a criminal offence for somebody to sleep outside on public land. That law has now been repealed and it has changed, and it's changed in a big way, and I feel the repercussions of it are going to extend a lot further. So stick around and I'll tell you all about it and what's been happening quietly under the radar with that law. Hello, how's everyone doing? I hope you're all good. Right, so what on earth are you talking about, Mick? And why do I think, this is my opinion, that this law change will have bigger repercussions than what the government think it will have. So the law that was changed, or been not changed in fact, repealed altogether, was a law that come in almost 200 years ago, just after the Napoleonic Wars. And the reason it was brought in after the Napoleonic Wars, or just after, but basically it's a law that says that you're not allowed to rough sleep outside. So you can't sleep in a public space or a public area lawfully, and it can become a criminal offence when you're asked to move and you don't. Very much like what is happening with wild camping, or what sometimes happens with wild camping. So the law that I'm referring to is the vagrancy and begging law. So the vagrancy law states that you're not allowed to rough sleep in a public space. So that has been completely repealed now by government. And the reason that they repealed it is they want to take the stigma away from somebody being homeless. So obviously in the past, if you passed a tent in the woods and it was a homeless person, you could phone up the council, phone up the police, report that there was somebody on public land in a tent, camping there, sleeping rough. The police or the council, whichever, would then attend and tell the person that they would have to pack up and move. And the same applies to the council. Now, if they go through woodland and they see a tent there or whatever, and a person in it, they can tell them they have to move. As of Monday, the 29th of June 2026, this is no longer the case. So now, if you were to pass a tent in the woods and there was somebody in it, and you phone the police or you phone the local council, what they'll ask you is, I'm assuming this because this is what the wording states, you can look it up yourself on the GovUK website. It tells you all about the law change and why it's been changed, etc. So now if you were to phone the police or the council and say there's somebody sleeping rough in the woods in a tent, the answer now that they will be given is, are they causing a disturbance or a nuisance to the public? If the answer to that is no, they'll just say they're not doing anything wrong, it's perfectly legal now. It's perfectly legal now. So the caveat is that you're allowed to do it as long as you are not causing a disruption, being a disturbance or a public nuisance, causing people nuisance. So if you're in a woodland like this and you were just tucked away and you're in your tent, it's perfectly legal now. Now, this is where it gets a little bit grey to wild camping. It doesn't mention wild camping or anything in the change to the law, but now this, the law, that is fact. This now is my opinion and my thoughts on it. So now, if it is perfectly legal for a homeless person to sleep in these woods, why is it not perfectly legal for me to sleep in the woods? So now there's a good chance, once word gets out about the law being repealed and it's no longer unlawful for somebody to do that, now if somebody passes a tent in the woods, and to be fair, if you're wild camping, you're normally tucked away from the paths and everything, and most cases people don't see you, but just if somebody does see you, they don't know what you're doing, you're in a tent, for all intensive purposes, you could be a homeless person. So then they go and phone the council, local council or the police, and that person says to them, I've seen a tent, like I said earlier. The police will simply ask, and the council will simply ask, are they causing a disturbance? Are they being a nuisance? No, they're not. No, I just thought I didn't. Right, it's okay. They're not breaking any laws. It's perfectly legal now. So, how is that going to affect wild camping? Surely, wild camping must now become legal under the same umbrella as vagrancy, because where there is no differentiating, obviously setting up camp and spending a week in the woods in a family tent with your family would be something different. But one person solo wild camping in a woodland, and now don't forget this vagrancy law that's been repealed, if you're homeless now, you can basically sleep on any public land or any open access land and in doorways in town centres. Now you're probably thinking, well, that's probably what it more harks to, is somebody sleeping in the middle of the town outside of Asda, Tesco or whatever, in a sleeping bag, in a bivy bag or whatever. But vagrancy and sleeping out in public areas covers a myriad, and it doesn't specifically say it's a town centre, it's a Tesco, it's a doorway. It just says, the law states that, in fact I'll put the law here that's just been repealed. Basically it's been flung out now, it no longer exists. So it just says sleeping rough. That is it. Sleeping rough could be sleeping rough here, could be sleeping, it could be sleeping on some wasteland somewhere. Whether that homeless person's in a tent or not is here, over there. And I've actually witnessed homeless people in the woodland in a tent. They don't cause any bother, by the way, and that's where, and I'm sure you all have, you've come across a tent in the woodlands what's been somebody's home for a while. That now, apparently, this is my take on it, is now perfectly legal. So, in a way, wild camping has not been made illegal, unlawful, even though it's only a civil matter anyway, and the likelihood of you getting moved on from somewhere like this is very, very slim. I've camped in these woods many, many times, and nobody's bothered me at all. In fact, I've even seen dog walkers when I've been setting up my tent, and they've just looked over and, oh, you're all right, yeah, I'm fine. And obviously I'm just making a YouTube video, I'm testing some gear, I'm just going to be throughout the night and all. They've said, oh, brilliant. In fact, they've shown more interest in my setup, and how do you go about that? Is it? And they've asked the question, and they all think it's daft that somebody can't go out and do that. So now, are we going to come under the vagrancy? As I say, if somebody does phone up now and I'm in here wild camping and they say, oh, there's a lad there, he's in a tent in the woodland, they're just going to say, if he's not causing a disturbance and he's not causing a nuisance, then he's breaking no laws. Go figure. So to me, that's the much further repercussions of this vagrancy law, because there's nothing else stipulated in it. Obviously, it doesn't stipulate that wild camping is now legal, but surely if they've done away completely, overturned the vagrancy act law, and you can now sleep outside in public, it's got to apply to everyone, surely. Anyway, that's my thought. I'd love to know what your thoughts on this are, because the ramifications for this could be widespread, you know, for wild camping. So let me know your thoughts. I'm sorry if you think the title was a little bit clickbaity, but I had to grab your attention and I had to get your thoughts on what you think this could possibly mean. Obviously it's going to be a very grey area and people are going to say, but you're not homeless. But to all intents and purposes, to people passing by, they don't know one way or the other you are or not. And I doubt very much that the council officials or the police are going to turn up just to check you in the woods to make sure you are a homeless person. How would you go about proving it anyway? You could just say, I'm homeless. I don't know. So they're not going to do it, otherwise they're going to have to be going out and visiting every homeless shelter that's in the woodlands, every tent that's in a woodland with a homeless person in. They're soon going to get fed up of going out. He's not causing any harm, he's not doing anything wrong, he's not being a nuisance, he's not disturbing the public. They're going to go out, they're going to say, and if he's a genuine homeless person, he is homeless, he's doing nothing wrong now because the law's been overturned. He's allowed to do that. In fact, they're encouraging it because they don't want the stigma of fingers being pointed at homeless people now. They want that lifted so they don't feel a stigma that they are homeless and they are having to sleep outside. So they're not even going to turn up and bother them. It leaves the door wide open, doesn't it, guys? Surely it does. Surely it does. Right, anyway, I'm just out wandering about and whatnot. The first bit of footage that you see me walking around, that's on the Osmo 360. I'm trying new things out with that. So if that doesn't turn out quite right, don't worry, but just stick with me while I'm learning new films. I'm only trying to improve I'm only trying to improve my videos and give a bit more of an immersive experience to it. Right, guys, so let me know, honestly, let me know your thoughts on where you think this could lead or what you think could happen now that it's lawful for an homeless person to sleep in the woods. I know I keep going over that, but I can't get out of my head now that it's perfectly legal and lawful for a homeless person to sleep in public spaces and in public areas, public woodland, public open spaces, wasteland. Surely it's got to be legal for wild camping as well now. Obviously still doing it discreetly without causing disturbance or nuisance. But surely if that law is now applied there, how is anybody going to differentiate between somebody who's doing a wild camp and somebody who is homeless? I can't see it. I honestly can't see it. And I don't think the police are now going to even bother coming out to anybody as long as that caveat, you are not causing a disturbance or a nuisance to other members of the public. Right, guys, that's it for this very short and quick one. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one. I think I've covered everything in it that I wanted to say, but go and check it out on the government UK website, or just if you just Google vagrancy laws, it will tell you that it was repealed and it's been overturned on the 29th, and it's now no longer a criminal or illegal thing, unlawful thing to do. So, right, that's it for this one, guys. So until next time, whatever it is, whatever we're doing, jazz hands mother. Oh no, it's not over, is it? So don't forget to like this video. We definitely need to get this pushed out to the wider audience so other wild campers and that can share their thoughts on what they think is going to be the way forward after this now. So yeah, so don't forget to like it so it gets out there. Don't forget, if you're not subscribed, get yourself subscribed, because you're nothing get listening to me waffling on now. So until next time, guys, whatever it is, wherever we're going, jazz hands mother. Love you loads of millions. Bye for now. Mwah.